Hi friends, it's Diana here today, and today I'm super excited for another hack. This dress, it is so cute, and I'm like, why can't I use an Ellie and Mac pattern to recreate this dress? Why shouldn't I be able to? We can do it, right? So yesterday I was playing around with my mind. I was playing around in my mind, trying to figure out what patterns and how I could accomplish this, and I think I got it. By George, I think I've got it. Let's try it together. So I've got this beautiful denim fabric. I think it's going to be adorable. It's not super heavyweight. It's pretty light. And it's got these dainty flowers that I think is going to give it just such a chef's kiss. It's going to be so beautiful for like spring and summer. I am using the Nyeca Dress Pattern, and what I'm going to do, I know the Nyeca Dress Pattern is made for for knits as stretch fabric, so we're going to have to do a little bit of tweaking. The bodice, I went ahead and cut out basically the same, and I'm going to show you how I actually added an inch and a half to the front of the bodice and cut it in two because I want to add a placket. All right, so from my front center bodice, I cut the strap bodice, and what I did is I placed it on, and I actually went out an inch and a half from the center point here. I went out towards the inside an inch and a half and did not cut it on the fold, just cut two pieces. The skirt I went ahead and cut out. I used the same pattern piece, except for in the front I added an inch width to the front of the skirt so I can do a placket because I want those buttons in the front, and then I made it about like 11 or 12 inches longer because I want it to be a midi length. Also, because this skirt is a flared skirt, is an A-line skirt, and I don't really want it to flare up so much as I get longer, instead of going out like this from the waistline, I kind of went straight a little bit. It just gave it a little flare, not a whole lot, just kind of followed that line from the waist, and I just kind of flared out just a tiny bit as I was cutting it out. So I went ahead for the front. I cut two by liner and my outer because I am going to just go ahead and line the front and the front center bodice and then the sides. That's going to be lined, so kind of like, you know, you do in the Nyeca pattern. But the back, I only cut one piece. I'm not going to line it. And the reason being is because I'm going to shirr the back. And this fabric is already kind of heavy, so I don't want to like shirring. If the fabric's too thick, it won't shirr very nicely. And there's other ways that you could do the sheer look, but I do want to do the shirring. So my back, I'm not going to line it. So I just cut out one piece for the back. Now, when I cut that one piece for the back, I added the amount. So let's say that my piece from edge to edge is 16 inches. I added another 8 inches, so a half more of the width. And so I expanded it. So in the center, I added that extra 8 inches. So I have it longer now, wider. So that way I can add for the shrinkage and it's going to stretch as I'm wearing. For the skirt, like I said, I added an inch for the placket. But because I'm going to be wrapping it around my body and unbuttoning to take it on and off, it doesn't have to go through my hips. So I think it's going to be fine. I did for my back I forgot to I cut it with the same piece that I cut the front. So I also added an extra inch in the back just by accident, but I think it's gonna be fine because I might put just a tiny bit of gathers in the back of depending on, I'm gonna see how wide it is. The shirring will bring it and gather it up a little bit, but I don't want a whole bunch of gathers because of the fact that this is a denim fabric, and if it has a lot of gathers, it's gonna be bulky, and I don't want bulky. So yeah, let's get sewing. All right, for this sew, I'm going to go ahead and use my sewing machine. Because I'm lining my bodice, I don't have to finish off the raw edges. I'm just going to use a straight stitch. Now, for the pieces that I do not line, the pieces that the raw edge is going to be felt, like it's either going to be on the inside or the outside, I am going to finish those raw edges with my serger. And that's because you don't want them to fray. Like the ones that are going to be encased and they're lined, it's okay because there's no friction. But the ones that are going to be against your body, there will be be friction of your body as you move and stuff, and it will start to fray if you don't finish those edges. So we're going to start with the main bodice, and I'm going to create 2 of the same because I'm going to do a lining and an outer. So I've got 2 middle pieces. So here's my 2 middle pieces, front middle piece. It goes this way. And then I've got another pair because I've got my lining and my outer. So again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use this one right now. And so what it's going to do, this is my front. This is where my placket is. So I'll work that after. So I'm going to leave that there. And then I've got my 2 side pieces. Put those aside. And here's one side piece right here, and then my other. As you can see, this curved edge goes against this edge here. So this is my front. Once these things right here are overlapped and the placket is done correctly, I'll have my sweetheart neck here, and here's my size. This is going to be my bodice here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the 2 side pieces, the side piece and the center piece, and I'm going to start at that point right there, and that's going to go right here. And that's what kind of gives me like that cupping at the bust here, because as I'm attaching it, I'm curving it out. See, hold on, I'm going to show you. I'm curving it, attaching it right sides together. And as I'm doing that curve right there, it's adding extra, like a extra cup right there. So when it's sewn, when you open it up, it adds a little built-in cup right here. It looks really cute. So I'm going to sew that, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side. And like I said, I'm going to do the same on my lining. So this will be my outer, the other one will be my lining, exactly the same thing. Yo, my favorite thing about buying patterns and hacking them, it's like finding something that I really like I see something and I'm like, this dress is beautiful, or this top is beautiful, and figuring out how I can tweak the patterns to create it. There's just something about it that is so magical. It is so much fun. It just, I know it sounds weird that I say it plays with my mind. It pleases my mind. It makes me so happy. And I love sharing them with you because I feel like, I don't know, it's just like the possibilities are endless, and sharing them with you hopefully encourages you to also chase those possibilities and create different things that you want to create, things that you see at the store and you're like, oh, that's really cute. I wonder if I could create that. Like, I hope watching these hack videos gives you the encouragement you need to go and do it. Like, you can do it. Okay, so I've got those, so I'm going to prep those. So then I'm going to, I have my straps here. We can go ahead and prep those if you want to. I can prep them. There's different ways of doing them. You can just face them right sides together and then turn them around and there's a strap, or you can do the method where you fold them in half, wrong sides together, create that crease, and then you bring the 2 sides into the crease and then you fold them again, and that creates a strap right there, and then you top stitch on both sides. And I like to do this way because I just feel like it just makes it more of like an actual strap. Like, it feels like it's got some weight to it, like, right? So I'm going to do it this way, and then I'm going to top stitch both sides to the outside. Start with the outside where the opening is, and then top stitch the other side. There's threads everywhere. And if your sewing room doesn't have threads everywhere, I don't know what you're doing. Maybe what am I doing? Okay, so again, second strap. Y'all, I really hope this works out. I think it's going to be super cute. I'm so excited about it. I think I bought buttons for it, but I'm not 100% sure. So we'll find that out when we get to that step. I'm pretty sure that I bought buttons for it. We may be doing like a mismatch of buttons if I didn't, and that's okay. It's a work of art. All right, straps are put together. Now, we could go ahead and work on 2 things. So we've got our back here, and like I said, I made this a little bit wider here in the center. This I added, so let's say it's like this, and I added this little piece right here, just because I want this to gather up and give me that snitched effect, snitch. That's not the word. Snatched effect. And also because I want it to fit. And since this is a woven fabric that does not stretch, we need to make it stretchy. So that's what we're doing. So in the top, I'm going to actually fold over once, and then a 1/4 inch, and then fold over once again, a 1/2 inch, and top stitch. The reason being, and actually, let me see, I need to make sure that this is going to be yeah, 1 inch and then a 1/2 inch. I need to make sure this is gonna fit, because I'm doing something a little bit different with this. It's gonna be fine. So 1/2 inch, a 1/4 inch, and then 1/2 inch, because I want it first to be a 1/4 inch fold down so that it doesn't fray on me. So 1/4 inch down and then a 1/2 inch down, because when I shear this, the first layer I'm gonna put in actually elastic through here at the top to kind of bring it in. Shirring keeps it, but I want like something like a heavier elastic at the top of the shirring to really kind of bring it all together. And especially because it's a thicker fabric, I want to have that stability. So I'm going to go to my iron, I'm going to steam a 1/4 inch down, and then I'm going to steam a 1/2 inch down, and then I'm going to top stitch that down. And then after I top stitch that down, we work on shirring the back piece. Now, remember, I am one that likes to do everything. I will prep everything as much as I can on at the same time. So if for some reason you're like, well, this is a lot of information, pause this video, do the step, come back to the next step. We can do it that way, because I'm also going to show you the skirt. So again, I cut 2 for the front and 1 for the back. So what I'm going to do is, if you want to add pockets, this is when you would add pockets, but I'm not adding pockets to this just because I don't know why. I might regret it later and be like, you dummy. But I don't always put pockets on everything. And now I'm like, as I say that, I'm sitting here like, should we add pockets? Should we add pockets? Should we add pockets? Comment below and let me know what you think. I do have enough fabric. Usually when you're using a denim fabric though, it's best if you use a different fabric for, a lighter fabric for your pocket. Y'all, I do have lighter fabric I could use for my pocket. Do I do a pocket? Let's just do it. Let's not do the pocket. If I want to do a pocket, what I'll do is I'll open up that seam allowance, that seam on the side, and add a pocket in. And I can even show you that later if needs be. Okay, so I'm going to grab my skirt, and it didn't rip all the way. And then I'm going to match my front and my back. So this is my front here. This is my back. So I'm laying out my back here on my table. And I'm going to grab my front and make sure that the side seams, I'm going to match up the side seams, make sure that the right side seams. So this is the side seam here. This is the center seam. And then this is the side seam. So we're going to match up those sides. If we're going to do pockets, if you're doing pockets, you're going to put the pocket on first. You're going to put the pocket down. I would do like 2 inches from the top, put the pocket face right sides together and sew that pocket on all the sides first. And then you would match the sides and sew it together. And that's what I would do if I was going to do the pockets. But since I'm not doing the pockets, we're just going to match this side all the way down and sew those side seams. So these sides, since this is not lined or anything, what I'll do is either I can do a chain stitch on my sewing machine. I have a safety stitch on my serger, actually. I have a safety stitch on my serger. What it does is it creates a straight stitch, and then right next to it, it creates a like a chain. So that way it will it finishes the raw edge at the same time as it's doing that like straight stitch. So I can do that. Or if you don't have that kind of machine, you can do, which is probably what I'll do today, just because I don't want to rethread my serger. You can do a straight stitch and then serge, go back to your serger and serge that edge as well. So you do a straight stitch first and then serge the edge, the outer edge. Or third option, you can do a straight stitch and then zigzag stitch the outer edge to finish that raw edge. Because again, this is gonna friction against my skin and I don't want it to fray at all. So that's why we finish off that raw edge. You can also finish the raw edges first and then sew it together. A lot of people like to do it that way. Maybe the proper way to doing it. I like to do everything at the same time. So that's why I struggle. See what I mean right here? I left a little piece right there. I'm sorry. All right, let's go prep all this stuff. You're like, whoa, that was a whirlwind of things. Yes, I hope they all made sense. Okay, like look at how cute that strap looks. Just like so finished and nice, top stitched. It is so beautiful. I like to back stitch when I start and when I finish. And then when you open up, you have that. See how it like holds the shape so nicely right there. Then when I'm done with that, I'm gonna go over, when I'm done sewing my front, I'm gonna go open up those seam allowances up and steam them open. Okay, in the back bodice, like I said, I folded over and then folded over again, and I'm top stitching that. And then we'll insert elastic through that, and then we'll do our shirring underneath that in a little bit. All right, the skirt, we're sewing up those sides, just like I said, straight stitch, and then I'll go over to my serger and serge. All right, for my skirt, we're going ahead and sew in those side seams, and then like I said, I'm going to go over to my serger and serge that edge. And as you can see, you have your straight stitch there, and then you have your serge edge at the edge of the skirt. And if you don't have a serger, you can do your straight stitch and then a zigzag stitch after. Okay, so for steaming these the sides on the darts on the bust, I like to use a ham because it can round it out like so, and you can do a really nice steaming here. If you don't have one, that's fine, but they do come in handy when you're doing this nice little steaming here. It kind of helps to keep that shape as you are steaming, so that's really, really nice. And then you have your cup there of your bodice. It's gonna be so pretty. Time for shirring, and I love to shirr. I have a new thread here, is a specialty thread, sewing thread elastic. I have a little bit left here, is like this stretchy stuff. First, I'm going to fill my bobbin. And what happens is you can either do this by hand or you can do it with your sewing machine, as long as you have a speed dial on how fast you wind your bobbin. So I'm going to make it as slow as possible. That's what you want. You want it to be slow. If you don't do it slow, it's not going to work. So that's why if you don't have a speed, you know, like if you can't change your speed on your bobbin, threader thingy, you are going to have to do this by hand, which is fine. So when you do this by hand, you're just gonna grab the bobbin and you're just gonna wind it, right? You're just gonna that's gonna happen a million times. So you're just gonna wind it slowly with a little bit of tension there as you do it. But because thankfully my machine has the speed, I reduced the speed all the way down, and then I'm just going to go ahead and do what I'm supposed to do. And y'all, I am really not doing this right. I'm over here trying to show you what to do, and I'm not even doing it right myself. Come on, bobbin. All right. Let me undo what I did wrong and start over. Okay, here we go. Make sure your thread is not gonna get stuck underneath there. There we go. I'm gonna trim this right here. And that's about all the thread I have. I'm not sure if that's gonna be enough or not, but that will get us started. So there's my bobbin full of my elastic thread, I guess that is. And so we're gonna load that bobbin case, remove the old one, and you're just gonna load it just like you would the regular thread. But just make sure when you do that, that it gets caught in this tension disc here. If it's not caught, it's not going to work correctly. So we want to make sure that that's caught on there. And then for the top, we're just using your regular everyday thread, whatever thread it is that you use for your machine. I know some machines are a little picky on what kind of thread they like to take. And this one sometimes is a little picky, but sometimes it says, you're fine, I'll let you move on. Sometimes I'm like, please let me, and then it's like, no. Anyway, we're threading. All right, once everything's loaded on there just right, we're gonna up our tension here all the way. We're gonna loosen it up to like an 8.5 or whatever. We're gonna make our stitch go as long as we can, which is a 5 on mine. And now we are ready. So we're gonna grab our piece of fabric here that we're gonna shirr. I'm going to place it up, and you want to do an increment. So it's up to you how you want to, if you want to mark your fabric or whatever. I usually use like the edge of my foot to kind of gauge how far I'm going over. So that's what I do. And then we're just doing a straight stitch. Oh, yeah. And we're going back to that faster stitching. When I get to the end, I don't cut my thread. I just lift my needle, pull a little bit, and twist. And as you can see, my fabric is already kind of getting a little shirred. It will keep doing that. It will get more and more as we go. So let's keep going. Right, so it doesn't look super sheared. So we're going to try to give it some steam and see how that helps it. So we're definitely going to be doing more lines of shearing. So it definitely keeps going. But I want to encourage you, because sometimes you look at it and you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't look like it's doing anything. And then you give it a nice full-blown steam and it shrinks your fabric and you're like, oh, well, there is the shearing that I was looking for. So we're going to continue to do the same thing with the lines. And then at the end, you're going to give it a really good head puff of steam. And then it should be nice and sheared. Okay, we're ready to move on to the next step. And actually, I found buttons. That's not what I'm looking in this bag for. In this bag, I'm looking for this little guy right here. Let's talk about the buttons first. So I had bought different kind of buttons because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. If I just wanted to go with solid regular ones, which I may just go ahead and do that. Or I have these that I got, and they're the same, but they're all different designs. And I thought that would be kind of cute to do like all different like button designs, so they're not all the same, they're all like different. So I don't know what I want to do. I may just go with the plain, just because this has already like a print on it, and then leave the designs for like maybe if I make something like plain. I'll see what I feel like at the end. Okay, we're gonna work on our bodice too, but I wanted to show you the shirring, how cute it turned out after steaming. Remember, see, like sometimes you start working on it and you're like, oh, that doesn't look like it's shirring. And what I did is maybe you can tell. The first few I did like a 1/2 inch wide, and then as I got lower, I'm like, maybe I want more shirring so it's tighter. So I went just a little bit under a 1/2 inch. And then I give it a really good steam, and look how much it shrunk. I did not cut this. It just shrunk on its own after I gave it the good steam. I love it. But see what I mean about the front? It kind of stays a little frilly like that. So that's why I left that casing there, so we can go through that casing and insert some elastic. I cut the elastic. Remember I told you that my bodice was like 16 inches wide. So I cut this elastic just a little bit under that. So that way it will like cinch it, because you want it to stretch and cinch. So I think that will be good. And we're just gonna fit it through there, pull it all the way through, and then make sure that you grab it here at the end. So it's like you're gonna top stitch it here at the end so it doesn't go all the way through. So I'll put a little bit, don't go all the way through, and I'll use a pin and pin it here so it doesn't continue to go all the way through until I sew it, and then pull the rest of it out. And that will give it that nice fitted look in the back. See? That brings it all together. Just kind of even it out. Oh no, did it come out? No, it's right there. Okay, just even it out. And then that gives it like that, like makes it straight. And as you can see now, this is like basically a knit because now it's stretchy. So I'm excited. All right, so I'm gonna put that aside, that back panel. I'm gonna grab my front panels, and I chose which ones are gonna be my outers by putting little clips on them. So I have my 2 outers here, right? And then I'm gonna grab my liners, I'm gonna face them right sides together. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sew up these together first, and then I'm going to add the back to it. So we are gonna end up sewing the back to it as well. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. So I'm also going to be sewing the straps. So the straps right sides together, I'm going to sew the straps right where that seam is right there. I think that that's a good spot for the strap. So it'll be like right at the center. So I'm just going to sandwich it there. And you can go ahead if you want to top stitch it, or, you know, like whatever you call it, like stitch it so it doesn't move. I'm just going to pin it from the back, like pin it down farther down right there. And then I'm going to match my outer with my liner, right sides together. And I'm going to sew them right sides together around the top and then around the front. So all the way around the front here. And when I go through the straps, I want to go ahead and do like a little back stitching stitch here so that they're nice and cut right there. And then also here in the front. This little area here is going to be my placket, and we'll work on that after. I'll have to fold it over and top stitch it to become the placket. Now here on this side is where we're going to attach our back. And again, first, before I do that, I'm going to top stitch here the elastic so it doesn't come out. Once I've sewn it all the way around and top stitched this right here where the elastic's gonna be, this is gonna get sewn together here. It's gonna get sandwiched. Now, as you can tell here, mine is a little bit shorter. So you are gonna eat seam allowance, and because I folded this over, I have a little bit shorter. That's okay with me because I want this angle right here to kind of go lower here. It can go lower, that's fine with me. So what I'm gonna do is when I'm sewing this together, I'm just gonna kind of cut it across a little bit here so that it closes kind of like a rounded space. And I'm really hoping that that's going to work. If it doesn't work, I'll let you know. And then what you can do is you can just extend this panel, because what happened was when I took that seam allowance in and I shared it, it shrunk a little bit. You know, obviously I took up that seam allowance so it doesn't fit. It doesn't match up, right? But that's okay. So we're gonna make it work, but I'm gonna let you know. So be on the lookout for that, because if you want to add I would add at least an inch, or yeah, you may want to add more than an inch to the length of the back bodice so that it'll fit even once you have folded that over. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, like I said, I'm just gonna come like kind of around like this and just kind of sew it so it kind of cuts over. And we can do that. Go ahead and do that now. Like I said, I'll make sure that that's not coming out right there, my elastic. And then what I don't want is, hold on. Okay, and then for the other side, when that's sewn, I can turn it around and then do the same thing. This part is gonna go on the corner on this side as well, so like sandwich it in there as well. But you can go ahead and sew one side first, so around the whole shoulder area, the whole bust area of this one, and then sew the side after. That way it's not like gonna tangle up on you and twist. So I'm gonna do the strap. Make sure it's right sides together with the one that you want to be your front. And pin. And then make sure you're sewing all the way around. And this is my favorite part of the whole situation. Oh, I just broke a clip. That's not my favorite part. My favorite part is trying to figure out if this is even gonna work. It's a trial and error thing. You cannot be afraid to try new things, to try different things, to figure out how it goes. And some things will work and some things won't. Or some things will work, and then there's things that you're like, you know what, when I make this again, I'm gonna tweak that. And that's okay too. So for this one, I'm just gonna sew up here and then the side. And then when I finish this one, I'm gonna bring this side and tuck it in here, just like I did on the other side. I mean, you can do it now, but it's just I'm adding too much bulk and it gets in my way, so I'm not gonna do it right now, but that's what we're gonna do. All right, so like I said earlier, because this is gonna be tucked in, I am not even worrying about serging it after I get done sewing it. So I'm just going to give it a sew, back stitching at the beginning and the end. Make sure that your stitches are back to normal, your thread is back to your normal thread and not your shirring. and give it a back stitch there at the beginning. Lift and turn. When I get here, lift and turn. Remember what I said about going over the strap? Make sure you go back and forth a couple times so it's caught on there nicely. Oh, this is my corner area, and that's where I wanted to kind of do a little swoop over. So I'm gonna just back stitch on there, lift up, and I'm going to show you what I want it to do. So again, this is where my back bodice starts. So I'm going to go kind of like right here. All right, so about 1.5 inches to 2 inches away from the edge, and I'm just kind of, I'm going to back stitch so it doesn't come off, and I'm just kind of turning so it closes that gap. And again, we'll look at it. I'm gonna back stitch over this. This is where my elastic is. I think you'll be fine. And then I'm gonna go all the way down. Before I can turn this around, I am gonna trim all this. But you know what? I may just turn it around and see what it looks like and then trim it after, just to make sure that I like that turn right there. If I don't, if I want it to be straight, then I can redo that. I can pick those stitches. So let me wait on that. But here in this corners, I am going to go ahead and trim down to my pivot point here, and then trim this corner from when I turn. And then right here where it kind of does like a turn like this, you can either do pinking shears, or you can just kind of make a couple snips here, so that way it opens up and it gives me a nice flip when I do flip it. Okay, and I'm going to do the same on the other side, but see, when you turn it, you have your strap here. This is my front. This should be nice and even here. That's where my placket is going to go, and this is the top of my bodice. And see how it just kind of goes a little bit rounded here. So it's got this nice little rounded area here to meet the back right there. I think that's gonna look good. Now I can do the same to the other side. I wanted to bring you over here so that way we could do it together. So this is the back panel here. So I'm gonna grab my other side. I haven't sewn it yet. This is the front. So this is gonna go, like, this is gonna be my front, my one side. Look how cute. Gosh, that's already looking adorable. I did not top stitch, which is the look that the dress has. It has top stitching, but I kind of didn't want to top stitch it. I'm not planning on top stitching the skirt either, but if you want it closer to that look that's on that picture, I would go ahead and top stitch. Now for the strap, I did not fit it because I didn't do a lining on here. So I will end up just folding this over and folding it over again. And then I will just like top stitch it to the bodice like so. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do with the strap, and we'll do that later. But for the bodice here, okay, so this is gonna get sewn, and this is my right side here. So when I flip it over, I want the right side to be the right way. So I'm confusing myself as I'm looking at it right now. I'm like, holy cow, how am I supposed to put this on? Okay, so here is my thing. And here is my right side. So I'm going to put it on my right side. So it's right sides together. And here's what I like to do, because I can get confused easily. My mind sometimes gets confused. So I go ahead and use my pins or my clips, and I clip it how I think I'm gonna sew it. Right sides together. It looks good. I'm clipping it all up. And guess what I'm gonna do now? I'm gonna go ahead and turn it. My clips will hold on tight, and I'm gonna make sure that it is right. As you can see, this is the right side, so that is the right side that I want sewn that way. And then when I close it over each other, it's gonna be just like that. This is gonna be my front, this is gonna be my back. Perfecto. So now I know that I did clip it on correctly, so now I can slightly turn it back around to the wrong side and go ahead and sew, because I know that I did clip it correctly. So now I'm gonna go ahead and sew that up. Once we sew that up, we're gonna go ahead and attach the skirt to the bodice, and then we'll work on our placket, and we're basically done. How easy has this been? Oh, I'm mind blown. I didn't even look at the instructions. I just kind of went for it, and I think it's gonna turn out. I think it's gonna turn out so cute. Let me know in the comments what you think. All right, we're gonna make sure that we poke out all these corners really nicely and give it a really good steam. All right, so I wanted to try the bust on to make sure that the bodice looks good, and it's looking really good. The only thing is, one side I went in a little bit more than the other, so I want to make sure that this is nice and kind of rounded here towards the bottom, but I think that that looks really good. So I got to fix this one. This one's a little wonky, so I gotta fix that. Then I'm gonna give it a really good steam, and I'm gonna top stitch all the way around the whole everything, and even the front. And I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna top stitch around the front, but I just wanted to make sure. I just pinned the straps on the back. I think it looks really good. I'm super excited about it. Let's keep going. I'm already figuring out some things that I want you to know when you're making this. First of all, I think I want, looking at where my strap goes and where my bra sits, I think I want this strap to be a little bit over, away from the dart, so like towards the arms, towards the armpit area. So I probably would move it over just a tiny bit, first of all. And then second of all, wait, there was another thing that I wanted to say, and now I forget what I was gonna say. It'll come to me, and I'll let you know when it does come to me. Oh, I know. For the lining fabric, I probably would have used a lighter fabric, a woven that is a little bit lighter than the denim. The denim is really, it's not super thick, it's a light denim, but it's still kind of too thick for being a liner as well. So I think I would have done a lighter fabric as the liner for next time. All right, my front bodice is basically ready to roll. I just need to figure out which one's my front, and then just do the line right there, so that will become my placket, and then I'll add buttons and such. But we're gonna focus on attaching our skirt to our bodice. So we're gonna grab our skirt, and you'll see our back bodice, our back skirt, you know, we can stretch this out and bring it in. I'll bring it in a little bit, and then but our sides, oh well, okay, and that's pretty good. Like, that matches really nicely, so I am going to go ahead and do that. This will get, I folded this one first, 1/4 inch. I may fold it again another 1/4 inch so it's finished when attaching. But I'm trying to think if I want to go ahead and do that, or if I just want to serge. I think I am gonna do 1/4 inch, and fold there. That way it is, and then I'll, you know, top stitch it all the way down. That way the seams are on the inside, and I don't even see the seaming of the serger so much on the side of my dress. So if it opens up a little bit or something, I don't have to see like a serge edge. I kind of like that. So what I'm gonna do is, if I'm gonna do that, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead 1/4 inch, and then another, I'm gonna make this a 1/4 inch because I made it a 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, and then another 1/4 inch first, and top stitch those two sides. And you can go ahead and hem now if you want, and then we'll attach these together. And then when we do the placket, this will also turn to create the placket on this on the bodice as well, I mean on the skirt as well. And then we'll have to sew these on, fold them under, and top stitch them on. So let me go ahead and top stitch the skirt, and then we'll move on. We're almost there. I can see it, I can taste it. I'm so excited. I went ahead and tried on the skirt just to see how it was going to fit, and because this is like an A-line skirt, it goes out a lot, so the hips are really wide. So I tried it on inside out, and I looked at where the hips are going to be really wide at, and then I'm going to just go in with a stitch and just sew that in, so that way it's just more straight than out. I don't want it to go out a lot at all. I want it to go more straight. So I am going to narrow it at the hips and kind of go all the way straight down, to avoid having like bumpy hips. So I'm doing that as well. I was wondering about that because when I look at this, I can see that the skirt kind of flares out a little bit at the hip right here. and that is not what I really wanted to do. So that's why I'm just gonna go straight down. And I kind of wanted to do this before I sewed it all up, just to make sure that it fits nicely, and then I can cut the extra edge off and serge it. Once I try it on and see if it's good, then I'll cut the rest of it off and serge that edge. All right, now that I've got my skirt prepped, we're gonna go ahead and attach. Again, we're just attaching right sides together. Make sure you match those side seams here. And then we're just going to stretch to fit. So I'm just gonna mark my half on my bodice and my half on my skirt and just match that up. And then all we'll have left to do is to do that front placket. So I will try it on first and make sure that everything looks good before I move on to the front placket and everything. And before I like serge this edge off, like this bottom. So I'll sew it on, and then before I serge it, I want to try it on, make sure everything looks good, because this is a hack. It's not a pattern. I mean, it is a pattern, but we're going off a pattern and kind of hacking it and changing it to do what we want it to do. We just need to make sure that everything just fits right. And that is best done before you do all your work of sewing it all together, serging it all together nicely, and then it's like, wait a minute, I should have shortened this, or wait a minute, I should have lengthened that. So let's go ahead and sew that, try it on, and then we'll move on to our placket. I'm so excited. The front should be sewn straight as it is. When you get here to the back, you're going to stretch to fit. Okay. So I tried it on and it looks great. So we're going to go ahead and serge that waist, and then we're going to work on our placket. All right, so now that it's all fitting good, it's serged on the inside, everything's looking nice and dandy. We're going to figure out which side it is the side that you want to make the placket on. Which one is the side that's going to come over and under. The one that's going to be under is going to be folded that inch right there, and it's going to be top stitched. I'm going to fold that under and top stitch it. From the outside, you'll have a top stitching line right there for your placket, and it's going to go all the way down. So now that our bodice and our skirts are together, I need to cut all those threads, and it looks really good. We're gonna fix the placket. So here's the front. We also have to attach those straps. They keep poking me, so I'll do that too. So here's the front like this, right? And this is the part that's gonna go underneath, and this one's gonna go above. So you can either leave it so that you can see this pretty like over like that. You can kind of see it. It's up to you if you want to leave that placket so it can be shown, or you're going to leave that bottom one regular and fold this one an inch over and top stitch it, and then you're going to lay it right on top, and that's where your buttons are going to go. So if you want that shape to be without the extra like that, then you're going to hide it under. You're going to tuck it under like so and top stitch it, and then you're going to put your buttons there. I think I like it with it going like that. I think it just looks kind of cute. I'm not sure. I'm always like unsure of all my decisions until I'm done and I'm like, oh, that actually turned out really cute. I also don't know if I want to top stitch on this side so it looks more like a placket, or if I just want to leave it. I almost feel like I just want to leave it so it looks kind of like intentional. Also, you know, if you are a person that likes symmetry and you're like, well, if I do that, then it's going to be kind of wrong right there, you can tuck it in. It's up to you. So I think I'm just going to leave it, or you can even leave it open all the way and go this way. You're just going to have to try it on and make sure that it fits and it's not too big, you know, and then you have, this is the actual placket that goes in between. But I think I'm just going to do it like this. And I am not going to worry about, what do you call it? I'm not going to worry about top stitching this inch here. I'm just going to leave it. Make sure it matches up and leave that inch there. Why, you ask, why do I have this extra inch here on the back? You don't need it. I like it because when I have a dress that buttons down, I do not like it when sometimes there's a gap and it opens up a little bit and then you can see under the dress. I don't like that. So that's why I made that backing a little bit wider so it hides that. It has a little bit of modesty panel kind of. So that's what I like. So now all I gotta do is get my buttons. These are it over here. And then we can start attaching buttons, making buttonholes, that is, to attach my buttons. This is gonna be adorable. So that's all I have left to do. Like I said, if you wanna top stitch it to make it a placket, you can do that. Oh my gosh, that's gonna be so cute. So I can go ahead and add all those buttons, buttonholes and stuff. And I'm gonna tack this down. And then I also need to hem, but I like to hem at the end when I'm done with the whole situation. So I'm gonna go and for the straps, show you how I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna grab my strap, I'm gonna fold it towards the dress, and then I'm gonna top stitch on that crease, on that line right here. So it's right over that line. And there's one. My pins are, my pins are so soft. I need some steel pins. These are just like cheap pins from the store. And then I'm gonna top stitch that and do the same on the other one. I actually do have some steel pins somewhere. I don't know where. They kind of scare me sometimes though when I'm sewing, because sometimes I accidentally sew over them. And these ones are so like bendy that don't sew over your pins, but these are so bendy that sometimes it doesn't matter. Okay, oh my gosh, look at how cute that is. Let me go ahead and go top stitch that, attach buttons, and we'll be done. All right, time for buttonholes. And what I am going to do, because I'm a little scared of buttonholes, is I'm going to make a buttonhole on a scrap piece of paper, scrap piece of fabric first. So let's change into our buttonhole foots. Take that off. I did decide to go with the different buttons. I just like how that looks. So we're just gonna go with it and hope that I don't regret it. And there it is. And then pull my little buttonhole area thing. And we're gonna go over to my buttonhole number, which is I think like 42. We're gonna do 42. Okay, and then we're gonna start with our buttonhole. And now our buttonhole, I think it goes backwards. So we're gonna start at the beginning, and then yeah, I think we're ready. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it does go backwards, I was right. I think will make it much easier. Okay, so my buttonhole is finished. Now for buttonholes, there it is. Oop. There's my buttonhole. And for buttonholes, I don't know, I think I may want to maybe change my thread. I think I might change it to a I think I may change my thread to a blue so it doesn't show up so much. And then what I like to do to open my buttonholes is I put a pin here at the end of where my buttonhole is gonna go. And then I use a seam ripper and I go in and then I seam rip towards the top. And hopefully that pin will stop me there. And then there we have our buttonhole that fits our button. Very nice. All right, I'm gonna change my thread to a blue because I don't want it to show up so much. And I think for dresses that have like a front like this, you're supposed to do them up and down like this instead of sideways. If you do them sideways, the button can move and move that area. So if you do it this way, then it's not gonna move this way. It'll move up and down, but it won't move this way. So I think with dresses and shirts, you're supposed to do this one. So I'm gonna go look at that, and then I'm gonna do all my buttonholes, and then I'll show you what it looks like. It is such a beautiful night out, so I wanted to come out here and show you the finished results. I think this dress turned out so cute. I love the sweetheart neckline. I love the shirring on the back. I think it's really, really cool. I love how this turned out. Comment below and let me know what you think. Don't forget to go grab your pattern, come back and sew it up with me. Comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!